Hey y'all, Downtown Austin Alliance's annual event, Future of Downtown, is just around the corner and tickets are on sale now. Future of Downtown is a high-energy event that gives us all a chance to connect, reflect, and look ahead together. The keynote speaker is Tavel Bristol-Joseph of Emmer & Wright Hospitality. And to make sure to keep you updated, they'll release the 2026 State of Downtown report at the event. Visit downtownaustin.com to get your ticket today. Today on CityCast Austin is the Tuesday News Roundup. We're going to talk about the big news that we have been watching all through the weekend. We're going to chat about how Texas lawmakers are thinking about data centers in our area, a deadly shooting in East Austin, and we are going to hear from you. It is Tuesday, April 14th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here with Omar Gallaga, an Austin-based tech reporter. What is up, Omar? Welcome back.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
And our fantastic newsletter editor, Kelsey Bradshaw. What's up, Kelsey?
Hello, hello.
So Texas lawmakers held a hearing last week to grasp the rise and impact of data centers in our state, examining their toll on critical resources like energy and water, as well as the economic benefits that they may bring to our area as well. So the hearing was conducted by the House Committee on State Affairs. Lawmakers heard invited testimony from Electric Reliability Council of Texas, or ERCOT, as we all know and love them. They talked to data center developers and energy companies. Pablo Vegas, who is the ERCOT CEO, told the committee that incoming centers plan to pull 410,000 megawatts from the grid.
Okay, wait. It didn't even occur to me that ERCOT, we've been talking about data centers and they've been on our minds, and I didn't even think about ERCOT.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm scared. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
It's really bad. So ERCOT is creating a new system that will prioritize when these companies can hook up to the grid and how much they can pull, and also make them pay money for grid updates. The data center companies frame their businesses as critical infrastructure for the modern digital world. Never mind y'all's lights. You don't need electricity. We need this AI. One chief developer said Texas might be the, quote, only place in the world able to compete with China in developing AI because of the state's abundant natural resources and business-friendly environment. Thomas Gleason, chair of Public Utility Commission, warned that these data centers might contribute to rising electricity bills for the public, but state regulators are working to prevent that from happening. His agency is working with ERCOT to incentivize data centers to bring their own power generators to prevent price spikes. First of all, before we go any further and start talking about other things, Omar, I just want to check in with you.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on with data centers these days.
This is a lot going on. Like, what? Can you just give us a little bit of insight so far and what
As far as data centers here in Texas, what's happening is there's a bunch of different factors at play. One is that we've been giving incentives to these data center projects, something to the tune of, I think we're losing something like $3.2 billion, according to the Texas Tribune, in sales tax revenue over the next 2 years, thanks to data centers. So data centers are not only, crunching the data for your YouTube videos and web hosting, things like that, but a lot of this is driven by AI. The rise of these AI companies, they need increasingly more and more data center capacity. There was a story in the Wall Street Journal just this week about AI companies sort of facing this capacity crunch. There's not enough data center capacity to support all the AI stuff they want to do. So they're starting to scale back. And we're talking about the big AI companies, the OpenAIs, the Googles, the Facebooks, Metas, that are doing these big AI projects. They're starting to scale back because there's just not enough data center capacity. So what's the solution to that? Build more data centers, right? So that's part of why Texas is so attractive, because we have the land for it. Presumably we have the electricity for it, because data centers need a lot of electricity and they need a lot of water. And that's where you start getting into this issue of communities that may not want a data center because they are going to need a lot of water that is going to be drawn from those communities. They're going to need a lot of electricity that puts a strain on the grid, potentially causing outages in those areas. And we're even seeing stories about places where these data centers are located having like a temperature increase, like a 15-degree temperature around the data centers. So if you live near a data center, it might be hotter, you might not have water, and your electricity might go out. Not a good situation to be in.
Oh my
God. So because of all this, there's starting to be a pretty significant backlash. There's communities that are saying, we don't want this data center in our community, even though it could bring in jobs. And let's be clear on data centers. They don't employ a lot of people. Like data centers are not like warehouses, like for Amazon where there's tons of workers. They're largely automated. There might be some people doing maintenance and making sure the data center is running the way it's supposed to, but they're not full of workers. So these are things that are built largely automated. Going forward, they're going to be driven by robots and AI. So you're not creating a lot of jobs. Except for construction when you're building the data centers. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to this, and a lot of we want to support these data centers because it's big business, and Texas is a business friendly environment. But there's a lot of drawbacks to let's just build as many data centers as possible. And one other thing that you mentioned, one more terrifying wrinkle to this, is that there was a line that you mentioned about like these data centers bringing their own power generation to the party.
Yeah.
How are they going to do that? Nuclear power. That's the solution to that. Building their own little mini nuclear reactors on site next to these. And there's actually an Austin company. There's an Austin company that I met with at one point that's doing that are building these sort of you could put these on the back of a trailer and ship it across the country. These small reactors. So that's what they mean when they say how are they going to generate their own power instead of relying on the grid? Those are going to be nuclear reactors.
Jesus.
Did I scare you yet?
I can't decide which is worse, building their own nuclear reactors or trusting ERCOT.
There's nuclear reactor. We are tumbling into Terminator 2. Do you know what I'm saying? iRobot. All of this stuff it's like the rise of the robots is all I can think about right now. And then we can't fight the robots because we'll have no water and it'll be too hot. You know what I'm saying? It'll be dark. This is not good. So, okay, you brought up water, and listen to this. It infuriated me. So, it's an issue, right? People are talking about the water. The data center executives who appeared emphasized that their facilities have largely moved to methods that require only an initial intake of water, and then they recycle it, greatly reducing their water usage overall. Dan Diorio was the vice president of state policy for Data Centers Coalition, emphasized that data centers currently use less water than other industries, such as beverage production and golf courses. And environmental advocates countered with there is no official accounting of how much water data centers are using, urged centers to be honest and share the real information instead of being no. Golf courses use way more water than us. It feels flimsy and ridiculous. So data center industry leaders highlighted the industry's, quote, economic value, saying they're bringing $65.8 billion to Texas GDP and generating $4.5 billion in state and local tax revenue in 2024, and supporting more than 428,000 jobs, including 104,000 direct jobs. I want to know what those jobs are. What are these 104,000 jobs? If it's not construction, what is it? Because it sounds like, to your point, it's just construction to build the data centers.
Primarily it is. It's mostly construction. And they lump that in with it. There are some jobs in maintaining these data centers, making sure that they're running properly. You do have to have some people on site to make sure that things don't go awry or things don't fall apart. But it's not lots and lots of jobs. I mean, it's only. You don't need that many people to maintain data centers that are largely maintaining themselves. And especially as we get into more AI technologies, this is more and more going to be automated. These data centers are going to be running themselves, basically, unless something goes horribly wrong and you need people to come in. You might have people there to swap out servers or swap out, components, but largely even that's going to be robotic, going forward. But the one thing that rings true from all that is they do generate a lot of money. Data centers make a lot of money. And I mentioned earlier that Wall Street Journal story about capacity decreasing or kind of this crunch of capacity. So that means those prices are going up. What they can charge people to host data, to crunch the AI, that money is going up. So they are making hand over fist money, money coming in to these data centers. So they're big revenue generators. So that's part of why they're attractive to Texas is, you're bringing in these companies that are generating hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars per data center. That's attractive. That sounds attractive. But then they also use a lot of resources. And to your point about the water consumption, as we're doing more and more AI data crunching, they're using more and more processors that are running really hot. They generate a lot of heat, and that's what the water is for, to cool down these servers, to kind of use liquid cooling technologies. So that's what I always wondered, like, why do they need water at a data center? There's nobody there. It's because of the cooling issue. It's a constant battle to try to keep temperatures down for these data centers.
That is wild. I didn't realize that.
There's different methods to cool data, servers and data centers, and there's it's not all liquid cooling technologies. There's different ways to do it, and that's evolving too. Like, I think that's going to be something there's going to be a lot of focus and research in the next couple of years of like what are alternate ways to cool these data centers besides just using tons of water. So there's a lot of thought going into that of like, how do we do this without all that water usage? But for now, they use a lot of water.
Wow. And, okay, so do we know how Texas lawmakers are reacting to all of this, or how they're feeling about the industry in general? Are there going to be regulations happening? Like, where are our lawmakers? What are they saying?
Well, the thing is, these data centers are spreading so quickly, and then there's some resistance at the local level. I mean, we had some issues this last year with San Marcos and Round Rock, both kind of having community resistance, that we don't want those built here. But at the state level, there's sort of this whole issue of like, they're being built so quickly that we can't keep up with them, that we can't regulate them on an individual basis. Like, we can't go inspect them. So now they're looking at kind of clumping those together, like regulating them as groups instead of all, individually. We are one of the states that does tax exemptions. I think there's 37 states that do it. Some states do not offer tax exemptions, but Texas is becoming very, very attractive to these companies. And, our community is going to be able to keep up with what the water usage is going to look like, what the electricity is going to look like. Is ERCOT going to be transparent about how much usage it's going to be and if it's going to put a strain? But I think there's broad agreement nationwide that when these data centers come to town, electricity rates go up. That's just part of the deal. So we can all kind of expect some increases in our energy bills.
And we already know ERCOT cannot be trusted. ERCOT has shown over and over again that they can't be trusted. They're not transparent. They're not honest. So this just fills me with anxiety. Committee Chair State Rep Ken King expects to hold another hearing where the public will be able to testify. And then a Senate committee is also expected to hold a hearing on data centers this summer, because y'all know the next legislative session is in January. So I think we need to keep our eye on this, because they're going to be moving pieces in preparation for the next legislative session. And it would not surprise me if Texas were to come in and just be like, cities can't make these decisions on their own. We will make the decision for everyone in the state. And then I think when that happens, we might be screwed.
I would not be surprised if there's a movement to try to override local regulations on data centers. That sounds like a very Texas legislature thing to do. It seems very on point for them. But the other factor that may have an influence by January is that people are starting to we're having these conversations. People are becoming more aware of what having a data center in your community actually means. And I think there could be a pretty strong backlash between now and January. I think people are starting to kind of wake up to what the implications are of this proliferation of data centers. And I think if there might be some legislators who are like, my community hates this. They don't want this. And so I would hate to assume that this is just going to go through without any discussion or debate. I think there is going to be some debate and some looking at what the community reactions are, because people don't like data centers. And there's going to be more and more resistance as these resources kind of dwindle. So I think there may be some resistance when that comes around in January.
I really hope so. Everybody just be on the lookout for these hearings, these public hearings. Just please, everybody be on the lookout. Hey y'all, it's time for your weekly reminder that the pros at Window Nation can help you get new energy-efficient windows at a great price. The weather is kind of crazy right now, so if you're like me, you're alternating between your AC and your heater. But you know what could give you a bit more control over your house temperature? New windows. Replace your old or builder-grade windows with custom-built, high-quality windows from Window Nation. They measure 3 times to ensure your windows fit perfectly. The installation crews finish the job in 1 day or less. And you can choose from over 1,500 styles and colors to make sure you get exactly what you want for your home. And most importantly, the windows come with a lifetime warranty. And right now, Window Nation's The More You Buy, The More You Save sale is going on. So you could save up to 50% off all windows for your home with 0% interest financing for 5 years. But hurry up because the sale ends soon. So schedule a fast, free consultation now at windownation.com. The city had another shooting incident on Friday at one of my favorite places to co-work, Cabana Club. So this happened around 8:30 p.m. on Friday. The officers responded around, 8:30, 8:40 to a disturbance call at the Cabana Club. Police said an altercation broke out and it escalated to gunfire in the back of the bar between a group of people that left one person dead and multiple other people injured. The officer says they arrived within minutes, but they found an adult male with obvious signs of trauma to the body. They tried to save him. He was pronounced dead at 9:02. And there were multiple other individuals involved in the incident that were injured, but they transported themselves to local hospitals. And so they don't know people's condition as of yesterday. Police sources confirm that a suspect has been arrested and charged with murder, but they're saying the shooting is an isolated incident and there's no ongoing threat to the public. The case is being investigated as Austin's 20th homicide of the year. Now, here is where it gets interesting. So Central Texas Gunworks owner Michael Cargill, who we've had on the podcast before, is claiming that 2 of the people involved are 2 of his employees. He said his assistant manager and sales clerk were mistaken for the wrong people as they entered the Cabana Club parking lot and they were caught in violence that they were not a part of. He said the people in the parking lot had just gotten kicked out of the club. They mistook his employees as people that were involved in the incident, and then they started jumping each other. They started jumping their employees and insulting them to the point that one of the employees was knocked out, like knocked unconscious. Evidently, there were 12 people, according to Michael Cargill, jumping on these other 2. So employee 1 got knocked unconscious, so the other employee pulled his gun and started shooting to, quote, stop the threat. The employee that did the shooting supposedly then went to urgent care for treatment and was taken into police custody. The other employee that was knocked unconscious suffered a fractured skull and bruised ribs. Now, Michael Cargill says, quote, my employee saw that his friend was unconscious. He made the decision to pull out his firearm to stop the threat. He did exactly what I would have done and exactly what he was trained to do. They defended themselves. They were attacked. Someone tried to kill them. That is a quote. Now, authorities haven't released any information about the victim or additional circumstances surrounding the shooting, but Cargill says that he fully supports his employees' actions and they will be represented by the Central Texas Gunworks legal team throughout the case. APT has yet to completely confirm whether or not what Mr. Cargill is saying, but all of the news outlets are reporting it. This is crazy.
I think this whole thing is really weird. I feel like, so soon after Buford's,
right,
having another place like Cabana Club, where I feel like Cabana Club is really popular. I would say majority of the city has been there, at least driven by it, and could imagine themselves there. Whereas sometimes when you get a news alert about a shooting in Austin, it's kind of like, oh, it just happened in the street over here or in a neighborhood or whatever, and you can't really picture yourself there. And anytime something happens at a place I've been, it makes it just the tiniest bit, more real, a little more scary. And so like there's that aspect of it is like Buford's just happened. Was it the same thing? Like, is this what we're seeing again at Cabana Club? And then it's not. And then I think it's really weird that Michael Cargill held a press conference about his employees. Like if he really wanted news outlets to know that the legal team was going to represent his employees, they could have just sent a press release. I don't know why we're doing a gun self-defense
Exactly.
PSA. So I think that's a little strange.
Exactly. Here's the thing. Like, I co-work at Cabana Club like once a week. Now once every other week. I spend my entire day there, right? And because it's easy, it's comfortable, it's right down the street from my house. And I've been going since they first started, and it's gotten bigger and bigger, and like it's gotten more well known. I'm seeing more and more people there. They've got a pool out back, so now it's getting warmer, and they're doing all these events. Like, there are certain nights of the week where it is packed. It has definitely become this hub for younger people, just kind of like off the beaten path. It's all the way down at the end
of
7th Street. There's like three or four other things there, and that's it. It's essentially in a residential area, but it's a coffee shop. It's a coffee shop that turns into a bar at night with a pool in the back. Like, it's such an interesting, we had our first birthday party there for City Cast. It is absolutely not a place that I would think anybody would take a gun to. Like, it doesn't make sense for you to have a gun at Cabana Club. That don't make sense to me.
That doesn't make any sense. And like, I still don't totally understand what even happened. Like, there was a fight and it escalated to gunfire. It's really...
Essentially, that is what happened. And here's the thing. There's a subsect of young people that this happens. It's like a bunch of you get into a fight, and then some knucklehead decides they're going to pull out a gun and start shooting willy-nilly, right? Like, this is how this used to happen when I went down on 6th Street. So this is my only form of reference. The several times that I have been like, oh shit, they're shooting. That's what's been going on.
Yeah, that's what made the Buford one so disturbing, was that it wasn't that. Like,
most
of them have been like someone had beef with someone else, and other people got caught in the crossfire. Yeah,
you're picking up what I'm putting down, Omar. Exactly. It's like, I have been in those situations where everything is fine, and then a bunch of people are fighting, and then you hear pop, pop, pop. It's always happened on 36 or downtown in like these like really, really dense areas where a bunch of us are in some place we're not supposed to be. It doesn't happen on a Friday night at a coffee shop pool place. It feels crazy. And so it's, the people that they've been interviewing have been talking about the safety of the neighborhood and connection. And that kind of pisses me off, because now there's this like question about whether or not the Gold Valley neighborhood is safe. And the thing about this is that, like, first of all, we're talking about far East Austin. And I understand people that when you move to far East Austin, you did not know where you were moving. But like,
no,
like,
I think
this is not a safety issue. This is not a safety issue. Some knuckleheads went to a party or an event, started getting their butts whooped, and somebody pulled out a gun. I know I sound like an old boomer person talking like this, but that is exactly what it sounds like happens.
You're correct. Yeah.
This does not mean that Gold Valley neighborhood is not
No, we don't
safe.
need to be asking, is this majority brown neighborhood safe because of one incident? I don't know that we were asking that question about Clarksville or West 6 near Buford's. I don't know that we were super talking about that. And that's a very white place to hang out.
Yeah. It also goes to like how we're quick to label, certain parts of town, which has been happening as long as I've lived in this area. Like, it's always been like this, but you wouldn't say, like, if this had happened in Westlake, you wouldn't say, oh, now Westlake is a problem.
Exactly.
Like, that would never happen.
The people that were there, who even knows if they actually live in this neighborhood or not,
They probably don't. They genuinely probably don't. Like, these kind of things always put me in a weird place, because it's exactly like you said, Kelsey. It's like, since I go there so often, it gives me this feeling of not ownership, but I'm like, that's my spot. Like, what are y'all doing?
I have recently been to Cabana Club, I know exactly the ins and outs of what it looks like in there. And I can picture the parking lot, and I can picture, were they on the ramp? Where are they on the stairs? Like, I can picture these things, and it makes it a little more real in your brain, I think, instead of just reading a news alert.
Well, I hate that this happened. Cabana Club is just like, it's one of those places that were really kind of on the come up. And hopefully this will not affect things too much. But, they're going to have to change the way they do things, right? I don't think it can no longer be this like free thing where you could just come in your swimsuit and do what you want to do. Like, this is going to have to change the way that they do things. And that's really, really unfortunate. But once again, we love our Austin community. We're sorry that this is happening. Y'all just look out for each other, take care of each other, and we're really sorry to hear about this. some City of Austin council members are calling for Cesar Chavez Street to be renamed after the New York Times reported several sexual assault allegations against the labor leader last month. So we asked CityCast Austin readers what they think the street's name should be, and we got a lot of responses, didn't we, Kelsey?
Yes, this was fun for me, I think, because I support the women who came forward with their stories about Mr. Chavez. And I think it's fun that people are really interested in renaming the street because they don't want that in their neighborhood, in their city. And I got a lot of responses. I wrote a little story about it. But so one of the obvious ones that came through was Dolores Huerta. And she is also a civil rights icon. She was assaulted by Chavez and she worked with him, and she came forward with her story for the first time in the New York Times investigation. And I believe she's in her 90s. And I just think she's really brave and cool. And that was one of the suggestions that came through. And then the rest of them were pretty obvious. Like there was Ann Richards, Willie Nelson, Stevie Ray Vaughan. I think all of those are pretty like, would this be an Austin newsletter, an Austin podcast if people didn't suggest these things? And then there's also a petition that's been going around, and I got a couple of suggestions for this person as well. A petition going around to rename the road after an Austin police officer, Jorge Pastore, I believe is how you say his name. He was killed in the line of duty in November 2023. And last week the petition had more than 1,500 signatures. And so there's been some talk about that. So the city council members who are wanting to change the name of the street, it's Jose Velasquez, Vanessa Fuentes, Chito Vela, and Zoe Kadri. They made a request earlier this month to change the name of the street and do some things in the process. So their request calls for city manager TC Broadnax to make a community outreach plan on whether or not to change the street name, how much doing so would cost. And that just means like, you know, they want Broadnax to plan like public surveys to send out or listening sessions and see what the community thinks about it.
Yeah.
And then we can come back to it. And so he's supposed to report back to council on May 27th. So like this is going to be a very long process.
Yeah.
And compared to everything else that has happened after this New York Times investigation, this is pretty slow because the fallout from this report was very
crazy.
Swift.
It was very swift.
And we've talked a lot about this, that it was swift because Cesar Chavez was a man of color, but events were immediately canceled. Statues were immediately removed. Texas is editing him out of the public school curriculum. Like, it's just very interesting how fast it happened.
Yeah.
And so there are groups that just want the street name to go back to what it was. And I actually didn't know this history. So Chavez died in April 1993. And then that December, Austin's First Street was renamed after him. So that road, Cesar Chavez Street, was just First Street, which is kind of boring, but whatever. And it runs from Mopac to US 183. And a local nonprofit, El Concilio Mexican American Landowners de East Austin, they were the ones who originally organized a call to rename First Street in honor of Chavez. And now that same group just wants it changed back to its original name, First Street. And their reasoning is very interesting. One of the leaders with the group, Gabino Fernandez Jr., he told KView, it's a lesson learned. Going back to First Street eliminates future discoveries about individuals that could lead to the same situation. I never even thought about that.
Damn.
That's kind of dark. And, you know, and the city, they're talking about how they're committed to upholding the dignity and safety of all people and affirms its unwavering support to survivors of sexual violence by trying to change the name.
Right.
So what do you guys have any thoughts? What would you change the street to?
Dolores Huerta just seems to be a no-brainer. Like, why are we even discussing anybody else? It needs to be someone that has Mexican-American heritage, in my opinion. It does, just because he was who he was, it doesn't change the things that she was involved in. I feel like if we, by not naming the street after her, we are erasing her with him. Just name it after her. Like that, in my opinion, that's the no-brainer. We shouldn't even be discussing anybody else. That's what I think. Personally.
I agree. I'm Latino. Dolores Huerta is a huge deal in our community. she's sort of on the Mount Rushmore of Latino icons that, you know, that we look up to. Unfortunately, so was Cesar Chavez. So it seems like we're going to take a long walk in a big circle and come back to Dolores. Oh, it should be Dolores Huerta. So yeah, I agree. I don't know if we need to go through all of those extra steps to come back to what's probably the most obvious and best idea.
Yeah.
I agree with all of that. And from just a map standpoint, I think having a South First Street and a First Street would confuse the heck out of me.
It's not a good idea. It does not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you're in city government, it is necessary for you to just make a decision. You don't need to get everybody's opinion. You don't need to go and spend time coming up with a report or a plan. You don't need to develop it. You don't need that. Just make a decision. The decision seems very, very clear. It does not take all of this. You could just be like, yeah, so this is what we're doing because this is the history. She's a part of that history. The reason that we named it this in the first place is still, it feels, I mean, exactly like you're saying, Omar, it feels like we're just taking a big, long ass trip to get to where it seems obvious. Just make the decision.
And it's annoying now that all this stuff has been, in the news. Like there was a Cesar Chavez mural on Cesar Chavez Street that's been immediately covered up. Learning about all these things across the country, it's like, where is Dolores in all of this? How come you guys don't have a mural of her? Where's her statue? Why was she left out of everything?
Some of that may have to do with that she's still alive. A lot of that is like memorializing when people pass away.
That's true.
She's been around a long time, plenty of time.
And give people their flowers while they're still here.
Yeah.
Give Dolores her street. Give Dolores her murals. Don't get me started.
Well, and I will say, so many of these responses that I got, I got a couple of Willie Nelsons, a couple of Ann Richards, a couple of Stevie Ray Vaughns. And, so many of these people are Austin icons, but my favorite response was from a reader, Nicole E. And this is all her email said. It said, quote, Bessie Coleman, Simone Biles, Bonnie Dunbar, Opal Lee, and then in all capital letters, it said, any woman, ! I was like, yes, go off, Nicole. You're correct. It should be a woman.
It should absolutely be a woman. And my personal opinion is that woman's name should be Dolores Huerta.
Yes. I know. Whenever I saw the Simone Biles, I was like, what? Simone's not even ours.
Yeah, she's...
No, but I am quite interested in knowing how much it will cost to replace street signs, which I'm sure replacing a street sign, it can't possibly be $1 million or something.
It can't.
Surely it will be cheap enough, but it'll just be another thing that Chavez did, to do.
Well... Listen, we love hearing from y'all. Thank you guys for writing in. We love this.
Oh, this made my whole life. Yeah. When I put this in the newsletter, I was like, we'll see if anyone responds. And then people did. Hell yeah.
So if you have something you want to share with us here at CityCast Austin, send us an email. Austin@citycast.fm. Leave us a voicemail, 512-200-2227. You already know voicemails are my personal favorite, but we like emails too. Omar, Kelsey, thank you so much for joining me today for the Tuesday News Roundup.
This was the best.
This was great. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. If you enjoyed our show, tell your friends, rate our show, leave us a review, and of course, subscribe to our CityCast Austin newsletter. And if you really love us and you want to talk to us and you want to send us cute little emails and you don't want Kelsey to be sad, become our neighbor. Go to membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.